Hey guys, so it looks like we're going to be doing this one through recording. So this is the rest of the lesson that we started yesterday. Please fill in your notes and we will go over this when I return tomorrow. Today's lesson is about adding and subtracting rationals. And the most important piece of this is finding the common denominator. Now, we talked about this before, but I know we need a refresher on it. So I'm going to go through it. And then again, like I said, we'll work on it tomorrow. So don't feel like you have to master it today. But I do want to walk through it with you, okay? So the first thing we want to do is we want to look at the denominators and we want to see if they have anything in common. It's very clear that 3x plus 4 cannot be factored. And so we have two parts, if you will, to our denominator. And our common denominator is going to be to just multiply these together. So what I like to do is I like to put it all together as 1 and then work from there. Okay, so let's do this. Now, looking at my first fraction, I already have the x minus 3, but I do not have the 3x plus 4. So that's what I'm going to multiply the numerator by. I'm going to multiply the x that's already there by the 3x plus 4 that I need in order to get my common denominator. Then I'm going to multiply the 2 by the part that I don't have over here on the right side. I have the 3x plus 4, but I'm missing the 2x minus, or the x, sorry, minus 3. So I'm going to multiply 2 by x minus 3. Now I'm just going to go through and I'm going to simplify as much as I can. So I'm going to multiply this out, 3x squared plus 4x minus 2x plus 6 all over x minus 3, 3x plus 4. Combine like terms gives me 3x squared plus 2x plus 6 over x minus 3, 3x plus 4. That should be good. We probably want to check the top and just see if it is factorable. I'm not coming up with anything, so I think that we're okay to leave it like this, okay? So let's look at the next one. Now, this x squared minus 1, I'm going to factor that just to see what factors I'm dealing with. Now, on the last one, remember, neither of these, the x minus 3 and the 3x plus 4, neither one could be factored. But because x squared minus 1 can be, I want to factor that out. And you can see that I have an x minus 1 in both. So when I create my common denominator, I'm going to take all of the different pieces and I'm going to put them together. Notice I said different, okay? So I've got x minus 1, I've got x, and I've got x plus 1. This x minus 1 is already accounted for with the first one, so I don't need it twice. So my common denominator is just all the three different pieces, okay? Now I'm going to multiply each numerator by what I'm missing. So I have x minus 1, but I'm missing x and x plus 1. For 2, I'm missing both the x plus 1 and the x minus 1. And for x plus 3, I'm going to run out of room here. I'm missing the x. So that's what I need, okay? So now I'm going to go through, I'm going to multiply everything out in the numerator, and I'm going to simplify if I can. So I'm going to start with the 3x times x and 3x times 1. 2, now I know that x plus 1 times x minus 1 is x squared minus 1 because I had that up here. So I'm going to fill that back in, and then I'm going to multiply by 2. So minus 2x squared plus 2. And then I'm going to multiply x plus 3 times x, which is x squared plus 3, x. All over x minus 1 times x plus 1. By the way, the order of that denominator doesn't matter if you put the x in front or whatever, as long as you just have the three pieces, okay? Now I want to combine any like terms. So I've got a 3x squared minus 2x squared plus x squared is going to be 2x squared. And then I have a 3x and a 3x, so 6x plus 2. And that's all over my same denominator that I had before. And there we go. I'm hoping that this is looking somewhat familiar to you. We did do this last year, but I know we need a refresher, okay? So work on those problems from the assignment. We'll go over them tomorrow, and we'll talk a little bit more about finding a common denominator, etc., okay? The other thing I want to talk about is a complex fraction and how to simplify that. So complex fraction is a fraction that has another fraction in the numerator and or denominator. So you could have one, the other, or both, okay? So complex fraction is basically fractions within a fraction. We simplify them. First thing we want to do is try to get them into one fraction in both the numerator and denominator. So I'm gonna deal with the numerator and the denominator separately, and then I'm gonna put them back together, okay? So I'm gonna start with 2 over x minus 3. Here I want to get a common denominator. I want to put these together. So 2 over x means that x is my common denominator. So really 3 is 3x over x, meaning I have 2 minus 3x over x. Did you follow that? I was getting a common denominator. Remember, we can multiply anything by 1, right? So I'm multiplying that 3 by x over x. That's my common denominator, and then I can put them together into one fraction. So my numerator is now 2. I wish this pen would write better. Two minus 3x over x. That's my numerator, okay? Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to work with my denominator, and I'm going to try to get this all together into 1. So I've got 1 minus 1 over x minus 1. X minus 1 would be my common denominator. So I'm going to rewrite that, and then I'm going to combine. So x minus 1 is x minus 2 over x minus 1. So what I've done here is I have simplified my numerator into one fraction. I've simplified my denominator into one fraction. Now I'm simply dividing a fraction by a fraction. I can flip and multiply. So I'm going to take that fraction that's in the bottom, I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to multiply by the top. So x minus 1 over x minus 2. And then I'm just going to multiply the numerators. So 2 minus 3x times x minus 1 over x times x minus 2. I really should multiply that all out on the top, okay, just to be as nice as possible. So I've got negative 3x squared plus 5x minus 2 over x minus 2. Now, do we think this numerator can be factored? Let's see. What if we did negative 3x and x, 2 and 1, and I made this minus and plus. So 2 plus 3 is 5. That can be factored, but nothing is the same top or bottom to cancel out. So I don't really need to do anything. I'm just going to leave my answer like that. Okay. Let's try another one. We're going to do the same thing, okay? So we're going to work in the numerator, and I'm going to simplify that down into one fraction with a common denominator, okay? So I'm going to take square root of x minus 1 over 2 square root of x. 2 square root of x is my common denominator. So I'm going to multiply by 2 squared root of x, both top and bottom, okay? Which gives me a denominator of 2 squared root of x. And then on the top here, 2 squared root of x times square root of x is 2x. And then minus 1. Okay, because square root of x times square root of x is just x. And then I have that 2 out front, which means I'm multiplying by 2. So now my numerator is 2x minus 1 over 2 square root of x all over the square root of x. And just for fun, I'm going to write this as square root of x over 1 because what I can do then is multiply by the reciprocal. I can flip that square root of x over 1, make it 1 over square root of x, and I can multiply. So the numerator is just 2x minus 1 because anything times 1 is itself. The denominator is 2 square root of x times square root of x. We've already done this problem. We know it's 2x. This is simplified, and we're done. I know I say that like it's really easy, and I understand that it's not. But I hope you're kind of understanding what to do here. So simplify each part of the fraction separately. Simplify the numerator, simplify the denominator. And most of the time, I would say 98% of the time, you're going to take that denominator, flip it, and multiply by the numerator, okay? The one other thing I want to talk to you about are rational exponents and how to factor those. We did this a little bit, but I know it was kind of brand new. So I wanted to talk through this a little bit, and then we can do some practice with it, okay? So the rule is to always factor out the smallest exponent. Smallest being the least number. So think about this. When it's negatives, it's actually the bigger negative. That's not really a good mathematical way to say that, but I hope that explains it. So like between negative 5 halves and negative 3 halves, negative 5 halves is smaller because it's more negative than negative 3 halves, okay? So what I'm going to do with this expression, is I'm going to factor out the x to the negative 5 halves, which here just leaves me with a 3. That part's easy, okay? The second part, when I factor out, I subtract exponents. So I'm going to take negative 3 halves minus negative 5 halves, which is actually negative 3 plus 5, which is 2 halves, or 1 whole. So I'm left with just an x. Okay, think about that for a minute. See if that makes sense, okay? We are factoring out the smallest exponent, the variable to the smallest exponent, which means we are subtracting exponents. Let's try another one. So looking at this one, which is smaller, the negative 3 halves or the negative 1 half? Well, negative 3 halves is more negative, so that's going to be the common factor, okay? So the common factor is 1 minus 2x all to the negative 3 halves. That's what I'm factoring out. I'm left within this first term just an x because I take that whole expression, the 1 minus 2x to the negative 3 halves, and that's what I'm factoring out. The second one, I'm going to be left with a 1 minus 2x to the power of whatever negative 1 half minus negative 3 halves is. Well, I know fractions aren't your favorite thing. If you put that in your calculator, negative 1 half minus negative 3 halves, you get 2 halves or 1. Now, this one I can go a little farther because I have some like terms here that I can simplify. So I'm going to leave this first part alone. All right, that's already factored. We're done there. The second part, I'm going to add the x and the negative 2x, and I'm going to have negative x plus 1. This is completely factored with rational exponents, and we are done. Let's try another one. So looking here, I'm going to ignore the denominator for a minute, okay? And I'm going to look just at the numerator. I want to factor out the smaller exponent. So which is smaller, positive 1/2 or negative 1/2? The answer is negative 1/2. So when I divide 4 minus x squared to the positive 1/2, and I divide out 4 minus x squared, sorry, I should write that correctly, to the negative 1/2, I'm going to take 1/2 minus negative 1/2, which is 1. So I'm left with 4 minus x squared to the first power, or just 4 minus x squared. Now the second part, I'm getting rid of that whole 4 minus x squared to the negative 1/2, and I'm left with an x squared. And I'm going to rewrite this in the denominator just so it's a little bit easier to see. It's a power of 1, okay? 4 minus x squared, there's no exponent there, so it is to the power of 1. Now, why I did that is because I can actually, now that I've factored this out, I can combine these. And I can make this 4 minus x squared to the 3/2. Because I'm taking this 1/2 and to make it positive, I'm adding it to the one that's already there. And 1 plus 1/2 is 3/2, okay? Now on the top, I'm going to combine some like terms, which negative x squared plus x squared is 0, so I'm just left with 4. And this has been factored and simplified. I hope this is kind of making sense for you. Again, we will go over this more tomorrow, but I'd like you to take a try with your homework and see what you can do. Feel free to work together, and then I will answer any questions and we will go over any issues tomorrow, okay? So that is it. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon.